Zoro vs Law is a one-sided stomp, and let me tell you why. So in their brief skirmish, Ashura Zoro outpaced and overpowered Kaido. The same Kaido who, right after this, blitzed Law completely. Zoro did this with 20 to 30 broken bones after he blocked one of the strongest attacks in the series. Detractors may say that the Ashura assault didn't really mean anything, even though it was a better feat than anything that Law had done on the rooftop. However, Law goes on to awaken his Devil Fruit, which does give him a stats increase. He then uses these new powers to defeat Big Mom in a 2v1. Zoro does get a stats increase as well with the King of Hell amp, which is stronger and faster than his Ashura form. He then defeats King in a 1v1. I've seen people try to say that Zoro is weaker than Law due to Law fighting a Yonko and Zoro fighting a First Commander. The same First Commander who has a power that gives him more durability than Kaido. And when that ability was turned off, Zoro defeated King in 3 hits. A reminder that Law and Kid also got a ring out on Big Mom so that they didn't have to defeat her up front. There's also an argument that Law's abilities would overwhelm Zoro, and that's not correct either, as we know that Devil Fruit abilities can be negated through Haki usage. In fact, Law shows this ability in chapter 1063. Zoro has greater Haki than Law, which means he should be able to do the same. He also knows how Law's powers work since he was told on the rooftop. So if Law uses Shambles on Zoro once, he's getting countered every time after that because of Haki. Amputate is another ability that people bring up to say that Zoro gets one shot by, even though Law changed his entire gender by using Haki. That means entire organs were changed in Law's body while doing this. So I don't see why Zoro can't just piece himself back together. It's One Piece. This nigga got half his head shot off and is still fighting. The room abilities have been argued to be different from other Devil Fruit powers, since Law needs to put people back together like Kinemon, who can already use Haki. But in 1063, Law states that intense enough Haki is needed to counter Devil Fruits. This would explain why characters such as Smoker, Virgo, and Kin can't counter the room abilities. Gecko Moria, of all people, is a good example of this. His Shadow Fruit powers carried him throughout the entire New World until he met Kaido on Wano. It could be assumed that Moria stomped all the New World fighters who had Haki, but when he got to Kaido, who we know has overwhelming amounts of Haki, he got defeated. That's just my theory, but it is an interesting one to bring up. It's also backed up by Kaido stating that Haki transcends all, and we know that all the strongest figures in the world have the best and highest amounts of Haki. So the theory is that there's a hard limit to how much your fruit powers can carry you throughout the One Piece world, and if we go by that theory, then there's pretty much no evidence for Law's powers being different from Doc Q's. But to be fair, Gamma Knife and other attacks that Law has to physically hit Zoro with cannot be negated. The question is, can Law even land these attacks on Zoro and do internal damage? Obviously, I don't think so. Zoro on Rooftop is far too fast for Law, and after they both powered up, he's still faster than him. The last major argument I've heard is that Law and Kid are portrayed as being above the vice captains and right next to Luffy. And while I do agree that portrayal can be a factor in versus battles, that's only when we have little to go off of for a fighter, which is just not the case here. If we were to go purely off of portrayal, then Katakuri, who is portrayed as being one of the strongest commanders, could easily defeat King and Queen, when that is just not the case. So while Law can react to, damage, and dodge Emperor level characters, he's still no match for Zoro, who is faster, stronger, and has more Haki than him, making Law's powers useless. Or you can just say that Zoro is stronger than Odin, who is stronger than Big Mom, therefore Law has no chance. And you can go to this video to see why that's true.